That's the sound of another sale on Shopify in store. Shopify POS is everything you need to sell in person. From payments to inventory, Shopify unites your sales into one commerce platform. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/retailtalks. That's shopify.com/retailtalks.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail, and I'm excited to be joined on this episode by Claire O'Donnell, the Director, Selling Partner Empowerment, Communities, and Trust at Amazon.com. We're going to be talking to Claire about Amazon's recent Accelerate event for its selling partners and some of the great things that came out of that event. So thank you for taking the time today, Claire.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat to you about Accelerate and some of the stuff we're doing for our sellers.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So as I noted, Amazon recently hosted this past September its Amazon Accelerate event, and that's its annual conference for its selling partners. So tell our audience some of the key themes that were discussed at this year's event.
Yeah, we really focused on two key things for Accelerate. The first is business growth. Every selling partner, of course, is thinking about how to grow their business and how they can do that better, use different or more Amazon tools to do so. And so we made over 30 different launch announcements of new tools and or services that Amazon is providing to help further their business growth. And then the second is community. You know, it is so important to have that community as an entrepreneur, and whether selling partners joined us in person or virtually, we offered a lot of different opportunities for them to meet and connect both with each other, but also with various Amazonians, kind of all part of that broader selling community.
Yeah, I actually wasn't thinking about that second point in terms of the opportunity to meet with each other and the value that your sellers on the platform get together at an event, person to person, in person. Talk about kind of that, how that impacts the experience for your sellers attending Accelerate.
Truly, I think that's one of the most valuable pieces of the event, and something that when I was chatting to various selling partners while I was there was really something that came through. And I think it's either to feel like you're a part of something that's bigger, or to be able to connect with folks who might have similar experiences to you, or they may have gone through something previously that you're just going through. You know, there was one seller who I chatted to who makes auto parts, and he was saying that he had really gotten connected with this set of about 10 other sellers who were working in a similar space. And it had been so valuable to be able to share and exchange different tips and tricks on what was going on and what was working for them. And I just thought that anecdote kind of really brought to life the power of that community that they can tap into.
Yeah, it's a great example, Claire. And then the other piece of Accelerate and what you're working on, I imagine year round, is it's just some of these new innovations and seller tools. You use the forum that Accelerate provides you to make some of those announcements. Do you want to talk about some of the things that were released at the Accelerate event?
Absolutely. And as you said, we're innovating and obsessing about how we can improve our selling partners' experience all year round. But Accelerate is this really great opportunity to share some of that with sellers. And one of the ones that the sellers I chatted to were most excited about was Supply Chain by Amazon, which is an end-to-end fully automated set of supply chain services that provides sellers with a complete solution so they can move their products directly from wherever they're manufacturing them to customers all around the world. And previously, we've offered different components of that experience. The one you probably most heard of is Fulfillment by Amazon, that gets things from a fulfillment center to a customer's front door. But we'd heard from sellers that going back in that value chain and supply chain is super valuable to them. And that's what we're doing with Supply Chain by Amazon. So that was a really big one. You know, it wouldn't be 2023 if we didn't talk about AI. And one of the other things that we announced was some new AI capabilities that will help make it easier for sellers to write really high quality product listings, which is good for them. It saves them time. And also, the higher quality your product listing is, the more likely customers are to buy it. So it's really a win-win.
Yeah, and that first piece around the supply chain, obviously Amazon's been, really regarded as a leader in that space for so long, but this is another opportunity for you to engage with the sellers and, especially as you think about consumers that are basing so much of their purchase decisions based upon experience, and supply chain being a huge part of that experience, really fits for what you're trying to offer to your sellers.
Yeah, there's a famous quote by Jeff Bezos who said, no customer's ever going to say, I love your service, but I just wish I'd got that package slower. And so I really think innovating on that speed piece and giving sellers, more importantly, more choices for how they can get those products quickly to customers is really important.
So Accelerate provides, again, a great forum making announcements about new innovations, new products that are coming from Amazon. It's also, to your point, a great opportunity to talk with your sellers, learn about their experiences, collect that feedback. Tell us a little bit about, through events such as Accelerate, but otherwise year round, what you're doing at Amazon to collect seller feedback.
Oh my goodness, Joe, I cannot tell you how many different emails we have had exchanged since Accelerate with all the great feedback that we got from sellers, both positive and constructive. And so it is a fabulous opportunity to hear things from them in person. We do have a bunch of other ways that we get seller feedback. We have dedicated teams that focus on seller research, user research, surveying sellers, picking up information around how sellers are feeling about their experience selling on Amazon. We also have broader opportunities for sellers to engage. So our seller forums is our online community for selling partners where they can go and engage with us and with each other all year round. And we started last year to do some Ask Amazon and Engage with Amazon sessions where they can ask us questions or give us feedback. And we've hosted over 50 of them today. And those have been great opportunities for sellers to share.
Given the size and the scale we're talking about here, to your point, there's so much feedback that's happening. I'm curious, Claire, if there's maybe one example you could point to based upon some of the feedback that you've received from multiple sellers and how you've kind of acted on that feedback to release, whether it's a new innovative product or a new solution to help the seller experience.
Well, one of my favorites where I think we really worked backwards from the seller experience was we have a tool called Seller Central. Seller Central is where our selling partners go to kind of manage their Amazon business end to end. And when they log in, they go to the homepage. And this year, we redesigned that Seller Central homepage to make it much easier for sellers to be able to focus on the most critical things to manage their business, to get recommendations, to stay up to date on the latest news. So it's kind of more of a control center. And we have had some great feedback from sellers on the improvements we've made. We had feedback from one particular seller who described it as the best homepage setup for Seller Central in the past 5 years. And so that was a really nice example of where we did a ton of seller research and testing with metrics and data behind the scenes to make sure that we were really improving and innovating on that experience for sellers.
And how do you kind of communicate that? So, again, back to the point of the scale at which you're operating. When you go to make a change or make an improvement, how do you kind of communicate that best so that sellers can take advantage of the opportunity? You've created some tool or solution to optimize their experience, getting that information to them succinctly and so they can then execute upon it. Tell us a little bit about that process, Claire.
The main channel that we use is news. So we have seller news. Sellers can log in and see it on Seller Central. It also shows up on our seller forums. And so any big change or initiative that sellers would care about, as a general rule, will go through our seller news channel so that they can kind of learn about it. And we really try when we make those news announcements to explain why we did what we did and why we think this will be good for sellers. So that's an important one. And then of course, email and other notifications as well, depending on exactly what the thing that we're announcing is.
And I think that provides a good segue into what I wanted to ask next in terms of, and you touched on this to open, Claire, the benefit of having this unified seller community, sellers talking to each other, building these relationships between themselves. That kind of then promotes and fosters conversations that are happening. So I guess my question for you would be, talk about why building that unified seller community is really a necessary goal for Amazon and what you feel are the benefits of doing that effectively.
Something I hear a lot, particularly from solopreneurs and from small businesses, is that it is lonely building a business, especially when you're kind of in that stage where no one is going through what you're going through with you, right? Because you're doing it by yourself. And there's all kinds of research that says tapping into a broader community for networking, for advice, for education can be really critical in helping businesses and entrepreneurs to succeed. And so for us, when our sellers succeed, we succeed. You know, they are more than 60% of sales in Amazon store. And so their success is hugely important to us. So that's a big reason that we're focusing in on community. And then, of course, we've talked about some of the ways that we get this great feedback from sellers and we're able to build connections with them. All of them are important to us as well.
And to your point, Claire, it's really truly a partnership. You know, that the sellers is succeeding and they're generating business. That's great for Amazon as well, right?
Absolutely. And we like to describe it as the most successful retail partnership that there is. And we're continuing to write that story at Amazon. We often say it's still day one because we're always looking to innovate and to do new things that will help our selling partners succeed.
So we've talked so much about the seller. Let's kind of flip to the other side of the coin for a second and talk about the buyer. What are you seeing in terms of consumer behavior trends? We're kind of right now getting into the real thick of the holiday shopping seasons. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing from the consumer this year.
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think the most consistent trend that I've seen over the last couple of years now has been consumers are really interested in shopping their values. It isn't enough that you just have a product that they like. They're interested in what is the story behind that product? What is the brand? What values does that brand stand for? And, you know, of course, during the pandemic, there was this increased focus on supporting small, supporting local, and that has really continued as part of that values-based shopping shift. And so for us, we've invested in a couple of different ways throughout the shopping experience for consumers to be able to find and discover products. We have a small business badge so that they can discover products from small businesses. You can also filter and search so that you only see products from small businesses. And then we also have our support small page where we feature a variety of different types of businesses, whether it be Black owned, military owned, etc. And so that's a really important trend. And I think the other one is customers just, their expectations are only increasing, and they do a lot of research to make sure that a product is right for them and they feel good about the purchase. And one of the announcements that we made at Accelerate was around a new dashboard called Customer Sentiment Insights. And I'm really excited about this one because product development, particularly as a smaller business, isn't always something that you have a ton of time or money to do. And this tool really harnesses the insights from all the customers who are shopping on Amazon in a given product category and can bring that to life in a really meaningful way for businesses to help them understand what to invest in to build better products. So, to give you a specific example, if you're trying to build a new tent, you could see that something that customers really care about is that tent has its instructions written on the back. Seems super obvious. I don't know about you, but I lose every set of instructions that I ever get on a product. But that's a great insight for a small business. And it's something that they can do to improve their products and help get better reviews and ultimately have more customers purchase the product.
Yeah, it's actually a great example, Claire. Maybe I'll close with this. Based upon some of those trends, what you're seeing from the consumers, the data that you've collected, if there was maybe one piece of advice or something that you would kind of recommend to your sellers to do in terms of kind of trying to tap into some of those trends that you just discussed, what would that be? Is there something that you might share?
Really being connected to their brand and to that story and being able to tell it effectively to customers and translate it to great products. I think at the end of the day, customers are always going to vote with their feet or, in the case of online shopping, with their mouse. And so having that great brand and that great product, that's always going to resonate with customers.
Well, that's I think a great note to end on. Great insight for our audience. I want to take the opportunity to thank Claire O'Donnell, who is the Director of Selling Partner Empowerment Communities and Trust at Amazon, for joining us on this episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Shopify POS is everything you need to sell in person. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/retailtalks. That's shopify.com/retailtalks.